Our last subject in part 1 was a removable body that greys put on like clothes when they need to enter our reality. Let's continue. Did they learn to leave their body consciously?
No. They do not exit the way we do. It is certain manipulation, upgrade when the physical body fully separates from the astral body and it freezes. Just like a crust of ice on water or like a milk froth. It becomes thick because it has to go through all layers. It separates and becomes like a skin.
Is it dead or it continues to function?
Practically yes. It is similar to leather skin. It is not artificial, but at the same time not alive.
Why would they need physical bodies anyway?
It is normal to be outside in a physical body. You do not walk outside without clothes.
I see. At that moment the soul is still present. There is soul, there is an astral body. They just learned to leave the physical body and travel in the astral body? Why did they need it?
They have a notion about themselves as of higher developed beings.
Did this transformation apply to the entire civilization or just a certain group? Maybe the ruling elite?
No, it applied to everybody. Lower class received upgrades first.
Okay, what was their nourishment when they were functioning in a physical body? How were they supplying themselves with energy?
They stopped eating food when they became one whole with their bodies. Instead, they used some sort of patches.
Is that how they would receive nourishment?
Yes.
Did they later modify their bodies to the point when they did not need regular food?
Yes. There is a special treatment to maintain these skins. Sort of cleaning service for restoring softness, fluids, elasticity.
By the moment they've conquered astral planes, they've learned to separate themselves from the physical body. Were they aware of other civilizations that exist only in the astral plane? Did they have any encounters by that time?
I see them were observing the aftermath of their experiment, the Dark Swarm. But it did not happen right away. It was not a regular experiment with normal results. That happened only after many worlds were destroyed.
Were they tracking its movements, evolution?
No. They weren't tracking anything, and later, they were like, wow. Look what happened.
Did they realize this was the result of their experiment?
Yes, later on they figured it out. They had no insight to understand that it was the result of their experiment.
Did a close encounter happen over time, later? Didn't they fall under the influence on energy parasites, having a soul?
No. Their touch point was Earth. They visited it before they lost their physical bodies and souls. Then they came back.
The next phase of evolution is rejecting the soul, since the soul destroys the astral body over time, which causes aging.
Yes.
How do they remove the soul? What is the process? Extracting, deleting, letting go. What happens?
First they develop a package, looks like a package, membrane, skin that holds pixels in shape. Then they extract the soul. That is all. And perish. Those whose soul is extracted perish. Then they start to feed on those who have a soul. Donors appear.
Donors?
Yes.
How does plugging into a donor happen?
There is a special equipment similar to a suction cup with a tube.
Does this connection happen on the physical or the astral plane?
They have no physical level except for that skin. It happens on the astral level.
Do they develop first implants on the astral plane?
We can consider this skin an implant.
They relocate themselves, their consciousness, their astral body to some astral skin, membrane created by them, where it exists now with the condition that it is plugged into some donor with soul and energy source.
Yes.
Nataly, let's see the moment when they realized their physical bodies are needed only as a suit, fashion, relic of the past, and when they move to the astral plane.
They keep wearing these bodies, squeezing themselves in.
They proceed to the astral plane. What do they occupy themselves there? What do they create? What do they strive for?
They proceed to the astral level and strive for nothing. They are super gods among beings like themselves. Get it? Very fashionable gods. They don't build astral castles or create trenches with crocodiles. They do nothing. Things done only on their planet. Their astral bodies located on their planets. There was a critical moment when the first ones discarding their physical bodies got pulled into collective consciousness. The astral bodies were at risk of destruction. They had to take quick measures and made the skin membrane. It didn't work for the first time. They created the skin, now question was to let the soul go and still survive. Originally, the idea was to fix the astral body in a certain specific place. Their goal is to resist the gravity of the collective consciousness and waste no energy. To resist gravity and destruction processes of the astral body. Because the longer they stay, the stronger their soul's resistance and desire to liberate. The more life goes through the thread, the faster the soul goes into the collective consciousness.
Some sort of recovery.
Yes. But it is impossible to achieve this limit living a normal life of a free being. Let's say there is non-human being living on some planet for 100,000 years. It still will not exhaust its limit. But if you live as we all do, held hostages, denied any access to the collective consciousness, what happens is, when we incarnate from the astral level to the earth and again the same cycle, we are unlimited. Free beings. That is exploitation.
Okay, let's go back to the GREYS, to their new modified bodies that no longer depend on the physical body. It was a fully astral being that could use a physical body in a physical space for any kind of manipulations. As they are in their energy body, they create some sort of physical skin that lets them preserve their essence, all their experience and everything that defines them as an individual. Did I understand correctly? Everything that is recorded in the informational membrane of the soul?
They can hold back their essence thanks to the skin and physical body. Everything is formed out of your essence.
I see. How is the experiment going? How did they achieve that stable condition when essence stayed functioning properly?
They understood that without a soul there is no existence. There is still some charge left, but it fades away quickly. To support vital functions of soulless brethren, they invented the first implant.
Who was the first donor? Was it a volunteer or someone they captured? Who would volunteer to give away their energy?
They are all volunteers, they all work for one idea.
Right, they do not have personal desires.
It was for the benefit of all. You can become immortal, one has already become immortal, you will serve him for a while, he is immortal now and you will become immortal later. And eventually, we will figure out how to live without donors.
Nataly, at that stage, were they creating new bodies without souls?
No. I do not see them creating yet. They do not need it.
So, there is a finite amount of GREYS in this form, as we know them now. After they've hooked up to donors they stopped creating new ones. Population and quantity remain the same. Donors are not immortal. For now, they are not. They put a rush on the search for a simpler battery to support their lives. More convenient power source.
Yes.
Did they stop creating new beings at that point?
They create them periodically in batches. But after the first donors, GREYS haven't recreated for a long time. The following ones, created after a long break, practically were made as food.
So they were able to create bodies for souls to occupy, and feed on them?
They thought of it as immoral. It was not welcome. Donors that did not die, were transferred to the recipient condition. After that, GREYS quickly started looking for nourishment beyond their planet.
Nataly, there is another question that bothers me. Is there a leader heading this corporative structure? Who started all this? Maybe some being, or a representative of their race?
The corporation became their entire world. It consumed the entire civilization. It does exist. There is the head. So-called. This corporation has rulers. It is not just one being. It is a group of beings. But they are not the ones who started. Those are long gone. Several generations have changed. But there is a ruling elite.
Is there a global plan, goal, they are trying to achieve with these modifications, working on immortality for everyone?
Let's say, a girl is getting plastic surgeries in hopes to be beautiful. But as a result, she is beautiful only in her eyes. If she did a lot of surgeries, that's what happened to them. They improved themselves all the way and became dependent on someone's energy, filled with constant hunger. Then, they took off their planet and began parasitizing off of other beings, other planets. First, they plug in and pump them out. Then, they collect energy. Only in cooperation with reptilians they understood that it is possible to collect, store and distribute energy by the portions.
Now, look at the first interaction with another race when they achieved agreement on collecting energy. As far as I know, to get access to someone else's energy, you need to have permission.
Yes, they received it.
How?
There was a negotiation, they got a permission. They also immortalized those beings as well.
Who was it?
Also humanoids but different ones.
What happened after modification? Did they become like GREYS after mortality modification?
Yes.
Do you mean soul image?
No. They stayed in a personal soul image and moved on together. Beings became their subordinates. Leveled down. Moved on together. And it's always like that.
Do we know any of the modified beings that were created by GREYS? Are they present in our space? The ones who were immortalized?
Yes, it is humanoids of all kinds underfoot.
Do they leave their planet with their physical bodies, or physical objects, ships, when they went in search of energy?
Yes. They are in their skins, they negotiate.
Do they do all the energy collection on the astral plane?
They collect energy on an energy level.
What does the implant production look like?
It's hard to call it production. It is simply made little pipe on some frame. That's it.
I see you are talking about the first implant. What is there later on?
Later on, they started developing mechanisms to simplify the collection of energy. Then, in the process of communication with reptilians, they acquired manufacturing facilities. Something like plants. Volumes increased, they had to provide everyone who was participating in it. On top of that, it helped not to focus on energy collection. That was time of dumb survival. And now they can spend time regenerating their integrity.
You are saying they interacted with other civilizations, had contracts for donations. Later GREYS modified and immortalized them. Why did they need it? Why they immortalized them?
That was the agreement.
So they followed the contracts.
Yes.
I see. I understand that beings like them, with a soul, were left behind. Until a certain moment. But they thought of it as immoral, so eventually, those were transferred to a level of the recipient. Made them immortal when there was enough energy from the outside.
Not quite like that. Let's say, they landed on a planet. They put skins on, had a conversation, achieved agreement and plugged in. They live there and eat there. They do not bother anyone, stay away out of anyone's business, simply survive. After they finish with these beings, they make them immortal and move on altogether. Then again, they put skins on, made an agreement with locals, offer them technologies. Some beings were agreeing to this help, some beings will receive something in return. It is like surviving in a desert in the quest for water. They were hardly undertaking anything. Pure survival.
When did the situation has changed fundamentally, and the survival turned into prosperity?
It only happened in union with reptilians. Their life became very good. GREYS were satisfied with being subordinate to reptiles because otherwise, they would continue to survive.
How did they run into reptiles for the first time? How did it happen?
GREYS visited Earth twice. First time when they created Reptilians, when they made a mistake of giving them access to it. Official meetings happened near Earth.
How did it happen? I believe GREYS came here in their physical bodies and physical ships.
Yes, they were hoping to repeat a familiar scheme. They hoped to reach agreement and later on to immortalize them. But gods, the Reptilians were already here.
Were there any attempts to land on Earth?
On their arrival, GREYS saw there are serious forces to be considered on the astral plane. Since the GREYS were wearing skins, Reptilians could not understand what kind of beings those were. At first, Reptilians thought of them as animals with basic essence. There were no soul threads there, so obviously, they thought there is no soul. But basic essence energy maybe is present. Reptilians tried to observe them. And when these creatures contacted Reptilians scooped them up for a serious talk. That it is not their territory, and that a free buffet for all is not going to happen. Won't happen.